Hello everyone, this is Johannes.
And this is Cinema.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And welcome to another rambling review video where we give you more games in one video.
That is true, these are smaller, if you have not seen them before, smaller, basically long-form final thoughts for games that we didn't end up doing a full review for a number of different reasons. There are just so many games and so few times to make video fun. Yes. Okay, that's a sentence. Let's talk about these games. Where should we begin?
On the top.
That's a good idea.
1923 Cotton Club. So what's this game about?
No, that's a good question. Actually, almost sounds scripted. It's not.
It's not.
Everything we do is scripted, as you obviously would understand when you watch our videos. In 1923 Cotton Club, it's as all of the games with a number, like a year in the title, it's based on, from Looping Games obviously, it's based on an historical event. And this is about bootleggers getting into the making clubs, basically selling illegal alcohol, having entertainment and stuff like that. We don't know too much about the history of that because we are in Norway and this didn't happen in Norway. It happened in the US of A. But in this game, you are running a club. So you need to get criminals to help you. You need to get all the bootleg booze so you can sell it. You need to influence people to come, like musicians, and then you influence these celebrities to come to your place. All of this is done with cards, so it's basically a worker placement card game. You're going to play it through, I think 6 rounds. Yes, 6 rounds of the game. And each round you're going to place your little worker meeples on one of the different card rows and you're going to buy a card. Most of the actions in the game is basically place it, get a bonus or pay a penalty for where you place, and then buy one of the cards in the row. That is like 90% of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then there's events which are going to come up. You can then every round there's going to be a random event and everybody can add an event as well. And you can go and look at them like you know what's coming. That can be like, oh, the most criminal person will lose something, or the player who has the most saxophones will get some bonuses and stuff like that. So you are basically trying to get cards. Most of the points on the cards are on the celebrities. So you're trying to build up your club so that you have the influence, because you use money to get everything and you use influence to get the celebrities, and you're trying to get the most points throughout 6 rounds. And that's it. It's pretty simple.
Yes, we play this game with 2 and 4 players.
4.
And I think I liked it more with 4 players.
Yes.
I think it's neatly balanced. So it feels like a little tight with 2 players as well, but it's less like, predictable.
Yeah.
Where people are going to put their workers with more people. There's going to be more events to fight for. And that's very interesting in this game. I think, like, okay, you have 3 events and you can play it over 6 rounds. So which rounds do you think, okay, now I'm going to play this event because I think that I'm going to be able to score this now?
Yeah. I think like with 2 players you have the dummy player, which like is a bit of a blocking thing, but I also agree that 4 players is more interesting, especially for tracks.
Yes.
Because tracks with few people, like, oh, I'm in first or I'm lost. So like now we try to, it's more interesting in more players.
Yeah,
basically.
Because the cheaper stuff or like the worse, like the cheaper stuff, you get more like crime for, or I don't know what the track is called.
Criminal track.
Yes,
you are a
and
criminal,
if you
basically.
want to do like the best booze or the criminals, you get higher up on the crime track, and you want to not be up on the crime track, so it's a little balance there.
Yeah, so the games from Looping Games like are small boxes with a nice themes. We have played, I think there's 4 or 5 in this series. I have played 3. You have played a channel tunnel. It's over there for Keeper Call. We did keep that one.
Yes.
It's a really nice worker placement, 2-player game. And then they had I don't remember the year, but it's a auction game where you are trying to get things before there was a thing where somebody blew up the auction house, basically, and you're trying to get those. I don't know if you remember the game. I'm pretty sure you have played it, but it's quite.
So, but
it was
like
back
it
in
much.
2017. We also got rid of that. So
you played it back in
1927.
Yes.
So I think that the games that they've done have been good, but not amazing. That's like I think still the Channel Tunnel is the best one.
Yes.
I think this one is a good game. I don't think it's an amazing game.
I think so. I agree with you. I think the positives with this is that you can play it up to 4 players in a reasonable amount of time.
Absolutely.
It's quick and it's very fast paced, and it's some neat mechanisms. It's not much downtime. It's very like simple, but it's still interesting decisions in what you want to do. I think this is a little above average for me, so I'm going to give it a 5.5.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just had a couple of things before we did the rating.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No worries. You can do your rating
Jump
whenever you
into
want.
that.
So just a couple of things. Like if you enjoy lighter, small card games, I think you will like this.
Yes.
I remember one thing I said out loud the first time I played it. I was like, oh, this is doing a lot of interesting things with basically placing somewhere and taking a card.
Yeah.
So I think this is a solid game.
Yes.
I think that if you play it with the same 4 people, you can get it down to like 50 minutes, getting it to be a pretty good filler game.
Yes.
So for me, I don't think I need to keep it. I think I liked it a bit more than you. I'm going to give it a 6. I'm usually more positive than you, but I'm going to give it a 6. I think it's a fine game, nothing to write home about, but which I don't do. I haven't done about like almost any
games,
game.
yeah.
So yeah, that's 1923. Then we have Kingdomino Origins. So what do you do in this game?
If you have heard of Kingdomino,
I think
which
you
is
have.
a wildly popular game, you do most of the same things. So you're going to build area pieces into your 5x5 grid, and you're picking them in an order that determines your order for picking the next tile you're going to get. So it's a kind of a like queue system. And the things in this game that is different is some volcanoes that you can play with, which...
Play with the active volcanoes.
Yes. So the thing is that you want to have like a big area, but you also want to have like these fire symbols on the areas to actually make them give you points. So the volcano gives you some freedom in how to like can move the fires to the area that you place it nearby. So that is neat. Also, there is some cave persons, or what do you call it?
Cave people.
Cave people that have different kind of scorings, and you want to place them like in a logical way as well. Yes.
Yeah, so my short review of this is what Kingdomino should have been.
Queendomino, yes.
This is what Kingdomino, like this is doing what I thought Kingdomino was going to do.
Yeah.
Take Kingdomino and then just add a tiny little bit to make it more interesting. I would say if you're going to go out and buy Kingdomino, buy this. Like it's, I don't see like Kingdomino is like, it's maybe like this much easier, but I don't see a reason to play Kingdomino when you can play this. The good thing about Kingdomino Origins is that you have different ways to play the game. There's 3 different ways to play the game. The first one is called Discovery Mode, which is basically playing Kingdomino.
Yeah.
The only other thing you have is the volcanoes, which you have to play with when you play this one. But those are just like a tiny little bit. And then you have the other one where you have the resources on the cards, and you try to be the player who has the most of each resource, so you get some tokens to get points for those at the end of the game. So then it adds up being like this area majority or resource majority thing while just playing with normal Kingdomino.
Yeah.
And then you have the most advanced version, still very simple, where you spend the resources to buy these, as you said, cave people to get different scoring opportunities at the end of the game.
Yes.
So for me, this is very good. For me, this is like it's a good sized box, not too big. It's a bit bigger than Kingdomino. Kingdomino is maybe like this, so it's like if you don't have space for it. But it's Kingdomino. In Kingdomino for me is a very good game, and this is a very good game. I would say this is better. I would say go buy this. It's highly recommended for me. I don't really have a lot to say. It's Kingdomino, just a tiny bit better.
Okay, do you have a rating for us as
well? Oh yeah,
you
don't have anything to add?
Well, I thought you were going to do the same thing that
I
just
no,
did.
I was trying to do the ratings at the end of the game.
Yeah, okay. So I mostly agree with what you were saying. If I would choose between King, Queen, or Kingdomino Origins, I would choose this. It's, as you say, it's like adding a little bit more interesting stuff, but not taking away the simplicity that I felt that Queendomino did to some degree. So I agree with you. I enjoyed this. It's a very solid game.
So I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Nice.
I think like I don't remember exactly what I rated as Kingdomino, but if I rated anything else on like a 7, I'm gonna go and add it down to like a 7. So this is like a half point better, but still. Get this.
Yes, I'm going to rate it as 7, so that's a 7 and a 7.5.
So I'm adding like a half point ahead of you so far.
Yeah, that's like,
more points
that
for
is
me.
how we usually are.
It is. Next up we have Suspects. Suspects is yet another game where you turn around cards, you read on them, and then you choose another card to read depending on what is on there. There's so many of these games coming out, and it's very hard. Like it started with Sherlock Holmes Conspiracy. Consulting Detective, which is then not cards, but you read in a book. You have Mythos Tale, which we have enjoyed a lot.
Yes.
You have Detective, you have Chronicles of Crime, of course, done another way. But all of these crime games are coming so many. Mortem, which has come this year that we need to talk about. Now let's talk about this one now. Suspects is then trying to do something different because you have to try to do something different.
Yeah.
And the thing, like the gimmick of this one, because you do the thing you always do, you look at the card, you choose you choose something else, and look at that card and you try to solve a mystery.
Yeah.
The thing they're trying to do in this game is that you will look at all the cards.
Cool.
That means that you will not, like in Sherlock Holmes, you say, oh, now I'm done and I'm going to look at the solution. You can't look at the solution before you look at all the cards. But the thing is that depending on when you guess correctly for different questions that you get, so you get the questions up front, which is also kind of different from most of these games. After you have looked at 30 cards, you will have to guess, or you can guess, which you probably will, because you will get most points if you get it correctly then. And then after another number, and then after another number. And then after you've seen all the cards, you will look at the solution and see how many points you got.
Yeah.
And the last answer you have written down is the one that you have to go with.
Yeah.
So it has a couple of other mechanisms as well. I don't really want to spoil them. Like they have a couple of different ways to use cards, which I really enjoy, but I want you to explore them yourself.
Yeah.
So what did you think about both like Suspects as the game, but also the thing they try to do to make it different?
Yeah, I like it. I think that it's different enough for it to allow it to be an existing game, so that's out of the way. I think like it does some very classic things, like the concept of the game is like a little like being transported back to like a pyro episode, like that's the kind of feeling I get from it, like both visiting different rooms or different locations and talking to different people and trying to also use the mechanisms, as you said, with the things that you get. It's super clever, but I like the packaging around all that. It's very simple mechanics wise, so then like the story has to be the most important thing in this kind of game. I think the first one was okay. I like the second one better.
Yeah, we have played two of the three in the box. Yes, we have
not played the last one, but I think like I like how you can guess early on, but then find new information and be like, oh, okay, so we have to think a little differently now. But at the end of the day, you're going to get to see all the cards, and then you have to deduce, okay, so what do we really think happened? And sometimes that's easy, and sometimes it's harder.
I think it's like a two-edged sword, the thing about looking at all the cards.
Yeah.
I would have liked there to be, because I don't like to house rule things, so even though I could just say, oh, I looked at enough and I'm going to look at it, the rule says I can't, so I will not do that.
Yeah.
I would have liked there to be a way to just like, when you want to stop, you can stop. Didn't have to be then you get some bonus points, you don't need that, but I think that both of the scenarios we have played, for me, I felt like it was dragging a bit. And especially, I'm not going to go into, like, it really depends on how fast you pick up on things. But the first scenario, we felt like we had, like, almost all the answers after 30 cards. And the game is good at making, like, twists and turns and things happen. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But then I felt we were sitting for maybe 20 minutes just... Okay, what cards do we have left there? Oh, let's all skim about this. So nothing more information on here. And that's very boring because I didn't really care about anything because I was pretty sure that's not going to lead anywhere. And you might be wrong, but that feeling of just looking at card because you have to was not very good.
Oh yeah, I agree. When I played that part of the game, when you think you have answered everything that you will, and you were just like, okay, let's just look at all the cards because we have to.
Yep.
I thought maybe this is better for like families if they get it slower, but I really think that...
No, you're again saying the thing you said we should not say, like we are super smart.
Yes, but I'm not agreeing with that thought because you're going to have to try to guess after 30 cards, and there's a lot of cards left. And even though maybe you have guessed wrong in the first and second time you're guessing, but that's feeling still. You get a little like, what do you call it? Like you're getting a little bit done, and I think like families will get that done feeling. Like children, now we've answered all this. We don't need to hear what the boring man says about the thing. I don't know.
But I think that, but I enjoyed the stories. I enjoyed the first
agree.
one. I enjoyed the second one more.
Yeah.
I like the writing is good.
Yes.
I enjoy the package of it. I'm not like completely sold on the gimmick or like the new thing of you having to look at all the cards, or that being like a selling point. I understand where it comes from, because you have that, like when you play Chronicles of Crime, that's a good one because it will tell you have everything wrong, go back and play more. It doesn't have to tell you because it uses an app. But for example, Detective, or for example, Sherlock Holmes, you'll say, oh, now we're done, and you go and look at the questions like, oh, we haven't done half of these things.
Yes.
And that is also frustrating, so it's hard to make it work in a great way.
Yeah.
But I would have liked it to be an option to say like, oh, we're done. And I like the option being that you can look at all the cards and not just like lose at the end.
Yeah,
so I enjoy
agree.
it being there, but I would have liked it to be an option to not do it.
Okay, cool.
So what do you want to rate this one?
I'm like between 6 and 6.5. I think it's an above average game, but like not my favorite game in this genre. But I think I'm landing on a 6.5.
I am going to give it a 6.5 as well. So no, I'm grumpy because I'm getting
Equally grumpy as me.
No, because my SU is 1/2 point more that we have found out in this video. But I would like to play the last one, so I want to keep it until we have played the last one.
I agree.
So I enjoy it enough to want to play the last thing, but I don't know when we're going to prioritize it.
Yes.
So we have one more game left. One thing I forgot to say at the beginning. 1923, that was a copy we bought. The other 3 copies are review copies.
Yes.
So this is That Time You Killed Me.
Yeah.
This is a weird game. This is
cool game.
an abstract game with a theme about time travel, and 2 people, one of them made time travel possible, and the other one went back in time to kill that person to take fame for being the person who made time travel possible. And now somebody writes to you from the future because one of you 2 friends did make time travel and the other one did not, and tried to kill the other one. So now you have to kill the other person before he might kill you, if you are the person who did make time travel possible, or you might not be because you don't know who, and then you want to and then my head explodes.
I love the theme in this game, but
it's so funny.
But like the actual gameplay is just like abstract.
Yeah,
it is a 2-player game.
2-player abstract game with a weird theme. It's basically, it is kind of based on 3D chess, where you have 3 different planes. You have the past, the future, and the present, and you will move around pieces trying to basically eliminate or kill enough copies of the other players so that they just have copies left in one of the time zones. And we can't really talk about a lot of what's going on in the game because this is kind of a weird game. The basic gameplay is that you're moving around on these different boards. You will be moving backwards in time. When you do, you make a new copy of yourself, because then you move back in time, and because you are now in the past, that person copy will also grow older and be in the future. So you will make those copies when you move. You're trying to push people into each other, so you end up with paradoxes. They meet each other and they explode, or you want to trash them into the ground and kill them, because it's a very violent game, but it's very abstract. As you can see, like everything here is weird and abstract. But other than that, we can't really talk about what's going on in the game, because this is not a campaign game, it's not a legacy game, but it is a game with different modules, and it's made out so that you will open a module, play that for some times, then open a new module, play that, open a new one, play that, open a new one, play that, with a little bit of story. The rulebook is fantastically funny, and yes, so like the packaging, the theme, the story is amazing.
I love it.
Is the game good?
Yeah, I think so. We like abstract 2-player games, and this is one of the better that I've played.
Yes.
I have loved some of the Gibbs series, like all of them actually. Shobu is also this like moving in the grid game that I really connect this to, because it's a little similar, like the movements that you do in one board affects the other boards, which is also time affects what happening in the future and might have happened in the past. I really like that. I really enjoy the different modules in this game.
Oh yes.
They are different, but you don't realize it at first. You're like, okay, so this seems like a very, and you'll be like, oh, okay, so now I have to think this way. Both like how these things that you're interacting with are changing through the time zones, but also how they are manipulated where you are. How you are moving to which time you are interacting with, and if you can get to the plane that you want to interact with before your opponent gets there and kills your copies. It's very interesting, and how you can in one like action interact with one timeline and then jump back in time and do something in that like it's very, very intricate, and you feel like when you crack something and you see something that the other players doesn't see, and when you set yourself up and be like, oh no, I did that mistake now, okay, he's dead. It's so interesting. I really enjoyed this game.
Yes, I think this is like, if you think, oh, is it a legacy game or is it campaign? It's more like, for example, like we already talked about Welcome to the Moon, which you have like 8 different games in a box. This is kind of 4 different games in a box with the same system, but it changes up a lot. One thing though, the box says 15 to 30 minutes. I have no idea how you're going to play this game in 50 minutes if one person is not super horrible at the game and just loses in the beginning.
Yeah.
We have spent like 40 to 45 minutes on each game. I think it's a tiny bit long, but it doesn't bother me. And I know if we played the same module like many times in a row, it will be shorter and you will see moves. So I think you can get it out to like 20-25 minutes, depending, of course. Many abstract games depend really on how the game starts, like how you end it up. I think it's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
I love the base like concept. I love the theme. I love the packaging. I love the funny ways the rulebook is written. I basically love everything about it. Like if the packaging was good and the game was bad, it would be like, okay, but this is like a super clever, super fun packaging. The theme, like making such a thematic abstract game is like just something amazing in itself.
Yeah, I love it.
I think it's an amazing game. Do you want to add something, or do you want to do some like rating
we
numbers?
can rate it. I can't see many ways this could have been better. I think this will end up in many top lists. It will certainly be one of my favorite top like 2-player and also abstract games that I've ever played. If you have the chance to play this, I highly recommend you try it out. If you are able to play some 2-player games once in a while, this is definitely one to check out. I would give this a 9. It's amazing. It's very, very good, and I love it.
Yes, I'm gonna give it a 9 as well. I think it's such a superbly very good game. Just everything we just said, amazing game.
Yeah.
And those are 4 more reviews here on Board Gaming Ramblings. And that's the end of the video. If you are still here and you have not subscribed, you can do so now by
clicking the subscribe button. It makes us happy like this. And it's fun and it's free.
That is
everyone.
True. For everyone, not just you, but everybody else. So tell your friends, tell your mother, your grandmother, your parents, everyone.
Make her get YouTube and then subscribe.
Tell your dog, tell everybody who can subscribe and have a YouTube channel. If you want to do something that's not free but still fun and very helpful, you can go to patreon.com/boardgamingramblings and support us there. And that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Sunniva.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye bye.